Hey guys, I'm Alex, welcome to the Pokevlog. So last week I missed the Pokevlog, which I apologise for, it's kind of bad of me for doing that. Pokemon Smash, the Japanese TV show, released some new gameplay footage of Pokemon X and Y. So now, this is really cool because it kind of shows you the in-game character, and it's something we haven't really had before. There was no new information, unfortunately, so there's just no new X and Y information. But it really did sort of bring everything we already know together, and it showed Honedge and a couple other new Pokemon, and I think it just really goes to show the difference between the DS and the 3DS and what Pokemon have really put into the new game to try and make it 3D, and it definitely does look really cool, so go check that out on the sidebar, the link is there. But what I did want to mention is that it sort of reminds me of Animal Crossing in a way, but less like so childish and chibi styled. It's very 3D. I know we've had like sort of 3D since the start of the fourth generation, but they've definitely 3D'd it up a level because it's the 3DS, of course. But they've even paid attention to detail really well. One thing I really found interesting in it, it's really sad that I found this interesting, but when you throw a Pokeball and it shakes 3 times and it stars and you've caught it, well, in the new X and Y game, it shakes in sort of a 3D manner, so they've actually made a 3D plane, sort of, somewhat, without even being on the 3DS itself, so they've even gone into programming other 3D features that seem 3D even if you're not on a 3DS, which I thought was really cool. But also it shakes like less and less every time it does shake, rather than just shaking the same and repeating what it did before. I thought it was just really cool, and paying attention to the detail, it really goes to show what they're going for, and they really are trying to go for something really good. But anyway, there's no new information, so I can't really say anything on that. Go check it out, I thought it was really cool. It just looks cool, that's all I really have to say. So as you can see from the title, I want to talk about the Pokemon X and Y anime. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago because Ash seemed to be getting older and we didn't really have much information, we just saw a picture of Ash. And now sort of a trailer, not a trailer but more of a footage of it, of like the first episode was revealed in the Pokemon Smash episode. So you can also check that out in the sidebar. It doesn't show any new information, unfortunately, once again, but it shows Ash getting off a plane and really just gives us sort of a different style of animation and things, which is what I wanted to talk about today. So as you may or may not already know, all the generations of Pokemon, each generation is based off a different place in the real world. So the first 4 generations were based off different areas in Japan, and the 5th generation was based off America, so that's where it changed. They had New York and America as the inspiration. And now for the 6th generation, they're having another new area, Paris, and possibly Europe, but mainly going to be France. We don't know it's going to be Europe yet, that's just speculation, but it's definitely going to be France. So to kind of work out how the anime is going to be, we have to take it from how it changed in the 4th to 5th generation to the 5th to 6th generation, but we also have to look at the features of Paris and France itself, because as I said, the generations directly correlate to the anime series, and between the different generations the anime series changes. So the first 4, it didn't change too much because it's all based in Japan, and Japan is kind of a mountainous, kind of hard to live area, and the Japanese are there's quite a large population of Japanese people living in Japan. So therefore in Japan you have quite large cities in the middle of just nature, and you've got these hills and trees beside this massive city, and that's what we do see in the anime because that's just how Japan is. And when it translated over into America, we now got sort of more spread out cities and more flatlands, because that's what America is compared to Japan, more flat and more spread out. In the whole style and the animation style and just the general idea of the cities and the nature and everything changed when it changed to America. Now Europe kind of is more interconnecting. It's probably more mountainous, possibly maybe not more. I mean, they've got the Alps in France, which I'm thinking they're going to have a big inspiration in the game and the anime. But I'm thinking that possibly it's going to be a bit more mountainous and hilly than it was in Unova, but we probably going to have more interconnections because Japan was very city, city, nature area or whatever. But I know Europe is a pretty interconnected place. If you've ever been to Europe, you've got roads between everywhere, like major roads. And Japan is probably hard. I've never been to Japan myself, but I know that it is very split off. And I know America, since it's quite widespread, you've got like quite a long distance and there's nature in between them. But definitely I think Europe has built itself into a place where it's kind of continuous and it goes straight on. So I think that's going to be a feature we're going to get in the new game and the new anime. Now I said that the anime series and the game series have been based off, well, Japan and America so far, and it's going to be based off France in the Kalos region. But that's not particularly true. There are a couple of exceptions, which are the movies. Now, if you haven't noticed, apart from like the first 2 or 3 movies where it wasn't really based off anywhere, the movies all after it were based off areas in the world that weren't the same place as where the anime was. So basically, if you remember back to the Johto region, where we had Pokemon Heroes, that was based off Venice, which is a European country. Now, I followed this trend through. I looked at where they were all based off, and you've got Spain, you've got Germany, you've got Greece, you've got all these European countries. Now, there's only 2 that aren't European. You've got one in China, and you've got one in Canada. And I think that's it. But mainly the European. And I found this really interesting because we're going to have a new anime in Europe because it's in France. So I thought maybe we could look at the animation styles and the styles they've had for these movies and translate it into this new anime and see, or possibly it could be the same because, we've had Europe before, we have Europe again, possibly the same from the same company, I don't know. But when you do look at it, we have sort of a natural nature style in Pokemon. Throughout the whole series, it's always been based on nature. And particularly in the movies, you have this scenery that's the European nature, and possibly that could be translated into it. But here's where I think it's a little bit different. And here's where I think it correlates with Ash aging. If you remember from the gameplay trailers of the Pokemon X and Y game, you see cars for the first time ever in Pokemon. There's never been a car in Pokemon. We've had buggies, we've never had cars. There's always been nature-based. It's always been like primitive technology in that respect. There's not been much transport technology. We've had ferries and boats. We've had boat planes, which is the weirdest thing ever, but not modern sort of things. But then if you look in the footage from the new X and Y anime, Ash gets off a plane. Not a boat plane, he gets off a plane, which is crazy as well because now we have all this transport that we've not had before. It's as if the anime is coming into a modern age. It's the anime is aging itself, and we're getting all this new technology. Now, it might not be in the future, the anime might not be in the future itself, but the fact is they're bringing a lot more realistic things into it, and they're less focusing on nature, more focusing on modern things, and well, it doesn't really say anything about the anime aging in that respect because they just focus on different things. But what this did make me think of, if you've ever watched Avatar, The Legend of Aang, and Avatar, The Legend of Korra, Korra followed Aang. Despite the fact that Korra was in the future of Aang, I kind of think, well, a lot of people tend to think that Aang was more aimed at children and Korra is more aimed at older audiences. Now, I can't really say this myself, but it's a general trend people tend to think. But as well as that, Aang was based in sort of a past time with primitive technology and things, sort of like Pokemon. But then Korra is based in more of a modern time with cars and planes and things. So therefore, I'm kind of thinking maybe it's a similar thing with Pokemon, despite the fact that there is a time difference in that those two animes, the Aang and Korra. Maybe there isn't a time difference, maybe there's a bit of a time difference in Pokemon. But I thought it was really interesting that the sort of the new technology was correlating with Ash aging. Also, in the footage that we got, Ash still does look older. So there's another thought I had about the anime aging for the new Kalos region. Now, I don't know if this is true. This is just ideas that I've had from living in England. I've never been to America or Japan, so I wouldn't really know. But as a child, I remember the Pokemon anime not really being advertised on the kids' channels because we had several British kids channels that never show Pokemon. You had these more obscure ones, and I guess even Cartoon Network for England didn't have Pokemon as much as the American one did, because in America it's very focused on the main kids channels, Cartoon Network being that it had Pokemon. And even in England, Cartoon Network wasn't the main kids channel for a long time, even in my childhood. There was other channels that didn't focus on Pokemon as much because it was in the American media, which was translated from the Japanese media, so it had to be from Japan to America to England rather than straight to America, which the Americans had it. So therefore, the Americans had it more aimed at children. The anime was more aimed at children, and in Japan, it was aimed at children as well because it's a children's anime. But the fact is, in Japan, they don't really have this children's thing about cartoons and anime. Like, even adults watch the kids' cartoons and things, so it's very age variant. And a lot of people also said that in the Unova region, it is much more aimed at kids than it was previously, which makes sense because, like I said, in the Japanese show, the anime was sort of based for everyone. It was kind of for kids, but everyone was going to watch it because it's a Japanese thing to do, watch anime and things. Then going to America, it's more of a kids thing to watch anime. So it's a cartoon. That's just the general idea for America. And it was based off America, so therefore it was made for younger children. I don't know whether this is true, but I feel like it's changing its audience depending on where the region is set, possibly, because now it's being brought to Europe. I don't think that the Europeans had as much childhood basis of Pokemon as, say, America did, because Pokemon was a main kids TV show in America. For England, really, it was a main kids TV show, but a lot of people didn't see the show and played the game because the game had more media attention than the anime did. So I'm kind of thinking possibly it's going to age in a way because it has quite an older audience in Europe, because of the fact that the European fan base is more game based, which is generally for older audiences than the anime, whereas the American anime was more anime based rather than the game based. So like the Americans went from the anime to the game, Europeans went from the game to anime. Possibly, I don't know. Tell me anything down below if you think that's any truth in it at all. Finally, there are a few things I wanted to point out about the footage from the anime. So what you see when Ash gets on the plane is he says he's going to become the champion of the Kalos region, and so straight away he's going into the Kalos region to become the master. And this is different from the Nova region where he went on holiday there and then just decided to go on a journey. But we unfortunately don't really know anything about his journey there other than he wants to become a Pokemon Master, which is the usual. We don't know if he's going to have any companions or anything. We don't know anything from it. We just know that he wants to become the Master and he's going to follow Pokemon battling. We assume that's what we can assume by being Pokemon Master. So even though his ambition is still the same, his ambition is kind of straight away. He goes there to become Master. So possibly with him aging and everything, maybe he does become Master, and I don't know. But also, if you don't see him when he gets off the plane in the background, he seems to arrive in Luminos City, because Luminos City is one that's based off Paris and has the Eiffel Tower in it. It kind of looks like there's an Eiffel Tower in the background in the city of the airport. But anyway, let's move on to the question of the week. So how do you see the anime changing from the Unova series based off America into the new Kalos region series based off of Paris and France? Personally, it's really everything I've said in this video. I kind of think it's going to become more interconnected and it's going to be less city, forest. It's going to be sort of towns spread out and more connections, just because that's the feeling I get when I go to mainland Europe compared to looking at other places. I've not been to other places, so do feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. This is just speculation on my part. And I also do think it's going to age just because of the audience differences. I don't know, I generally do feel that the European fan base is, for the anime itself, is just slightly older than the American ones. I'm not too sure on that, but feel free to dispute with me because this is just a suggestion. Feel free to comment down below what your thoughts about it and argue with me as much as you want because I don't know. You guys can tell me. So thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.